I'm Mike Jimenez, and this is the Acquired Taste, sponsored by Locked On Spurs, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter. Again, my name's Mike Jimenez. Joe Garcia producing today's show. Got a special guest, a familiar face to those in San Antonio.
You think so? You really think so?
Yes.
It's been a minute.
It has been a minute, but this is Anthony Pittman. You remember him as a sports anchor with KVB for more than a decade. Was also a sports anchor at West Palm Beach, Florida. Good
True.
friend of mine. He's going to help me do some heavy lifting today because I'm still recovering from a sinus infection, still have an ear infection, and my voice hasn't totally come back yet.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for a lot of different reasons. Not only do I get to spend time with a very, very good friend of mine who I've known for 25 years. It's been that long. But beyond that, it's the fact that, we get to storytell a little bit and relive some of the glory days that you and I have spent over the years together.
We've talked about that many times, just kind of, kicking back and telling some old tales. Yeah. So why not do some of them today? And you're my boy, so you called me hurting. I was like, oh, my goodness, man. Is your voice going to make it today?
Dude, normally I bounce back in 24, 48 hours tops.
Yeah.
But this one has kicked my ass this week.
You know what that's called when you can't bounce back like you used to?
What is it called?
Age.
Oh, my God. Yeah. So today's show is not only sponsored by Locked On Spurs. Jeff Garcia, thank you so much. But I guess in a roundabout way, Buffalo Trace, because that's the only thing that's bringing my voice back to life a little bit.
Okay, you have your Buffalo Trace here to help soothe the vocal cords. But do you need that much of it? Okay, now it looks like you're just doing shots.
It's an hour-long show.
Now it looks like you're just at the club.
Dude, and you're
two over here.
And you remember me at the club, so maybe we'll get into that conversation as well.
We had a couple of those nights.
Yeah, we did. Tie went on, I think is what they called that back in the day. But again, it's nice to have you here with us, Anthony. Again, not only are we on Twitter, we're on Facebook. We're also on Spotify, by the way. All of these shows get uploaded onto Spotify later on in the evening so that people are driving home or out and about working out. Mm-hmm. They can listen to the show.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea too, man. I haven't had a chance to talk to you much since you started this new venture on Monday of this week.
Yeah.
But hats off to you, man, that when you were told by another outfit after winning a radio Emmy, which makes no sense, we don't need you anymore, that you didn't just pitch your tent or pull up your stakes and not do anything else. I'm glad that you decided to keep running with the ball here.
Well, I mean, a lot of it's because of our producer, Joe Garcia. I mean, he reached out to me and said, you got to keep the thing going. And he was one of many people who said that. So I don't have anything really negative to say about the radio station that I was at. Really,
I'm not going there with it.
No, not at all. But there's something to be said about just bouncing back and fighting back a little bit. There is a void in this San Antonio market when it comes to local sports talk during certain hours of the day, 10 a.m., 2 p.m. There's nothing there. It goes to the Colin Cowards of the world. It goes to the Dan Patricks of the world.
Yeah.
And people aren't interested in that typically in San Antonio. They want to have local talk about local things. They don't care about the Lakers. They don't care about the New York Knicks or the New York Yankees. They want to talk about what matters to San Antonio and in the surrounding area. So the bounce back was really just a way for me to lick my wounds a bit. And I got approached by a lot of people. I mean, I'm going to say that probably 10 outfits reached out to me.
Yeah.
And there was only a few that I trusted and only a handful that I talked to. But to be honest with you, talking to Joe, the vision was the same. And that's basically it. The vision wasn't a 1 day a week podcast. It was a daily thing and to develop a business around it. And I think that this could be a very, very big thing. I am more outgoing when my voice is there. Yeah. Believe me, if you've listened to me on the radio before, you know that I am obnoxious and loud sometimes. So to be sidelined in a way with my voice right now, earlier before the show, trying to do vocal exercises, singing Bryan Adams because I had that raspy voice.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't have because I thought you were doing more damage to your voice.
Yeah, Summer of '69 is what I was trying to bust out. I was more impressed by the fact that I still remember the lyrics of the song pretty much word for word. I haven't heard that song in forever.
Yeah, I was never really a big fan of that song. Fan of Bryan Adams, but not particularly that song. Yeah.
But
of course, do what you got to do.
We're going to be talking sports. We're going to be talking various pop culture things, some nostalgic things today. Anthony Pittman, again, very, very good friend of mine. 8 days from now, San Antonio Spurs are going to select Victor Wembanyama #1 overall in the
Are we sure about
2023
that?
draft. Yes.
Of course we are.
Very, very, very sure. That being said, there were reports today, Locked On Spurs, ESPN, reporting that the Spurs medical staff met with Wemby already, checked him out. A-okay, man.
And he looks
Thumbs
good.
up. Things look good. So this is going to happen, right? 8 days from now, this generational talent, as what he's called, is going to be a member of the Spurs. And we were looking at highlights earlier this morning just to kind of like marvel at who he is and what he can do on the court. And when you watch him play, and when you watch this guy move, does he remind you of anybody? Does he? Because it's just so weird seeing a 7'5" guy out there with handles.
Well, to me, he reminds me of a taller Kevin Durant. When I think back to when Durant was at college at UT in his early days in the NBA, when he was a supersonic,
yeah,
he was really thin. He's thin now, but he was really thin then. Wemby reminds me, and especially with his game, of Kevin Durant. And I know you're thinking of someone different, but for me, it's Kevin Durant, just a tiny bit thicker, even though he's a thin guy, tiny bit thicker and a lot taller. Dude, with all the handles, all the running ability, all the jumping ability.
Everyone's saying that he needs to bulk up. No, he doesn't. Why? Why does Wembanyama need to bulk up? I don't get it, because I don't want that much weight on his feet.
No, he doesn't need to. He's not going to be playing with his back to the basket. This isn't the 70s, where he's going to go up against Bob Lanier and, Willis Reed and, even Jabbar.
Right.
Those types. No one big. The game has changed so much. His body style will work, and he will naturally put on a little weight, but he doesn't need to be thick or overly muscular. He doesn't need to turn into a Giannis.
No, he doesn't, because the height advantage that he has is so vast. I mean, we're going to be 2 weeks away from seeing David Robinson stand right next to Victor Wembanyama, and Wembanyama is going to look over at David Robinson. And is going to be and David's going to be up to his chin. It's going to be up to his nose. If you've ever seen Wemby stand next to Rudy Gobert, he towers over him. So a guy with handles.
Rudy's a big guy.
I mean, he's a big dude.
Yeah.
About the same size as David. And it's just so different. And as we watch the highlights, as we watch the games, right now Wemby's team is down 2-0 in the finals over there, but they're expected to lose that finals simply because it's a better team that they're playing. On top of that, Wemby's team is not very deep. So that being said, I'm not going to hold that against Victor Wembanyama. But you take a look at what he brings to this Spurs team. It's remarkable what he can do, because you ask, what position does he play?
All positions.
All positions. All positions.
Yeah.
And that's the generational talent of it all. Again, Wemby has already met with the Spurs medical team, according to Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs, according to ESPN.com, and that everything looks good at the moment. I said something on the radio a week ago, 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, and I got some backlash from it. And it was about Wemby, and people didn't like the word I used because I was using a turn of phrase, but they were taking one word out of context. I was saying rookie of the year or bust. I'm not saying he's a bust if he's not rookie of the year, but what I'm saying is that if he does not win the rookie of the year award, it would be so disappointing if Wemby doesn't capture the crown.
I don't think that would, for me, that wouldn't be overly disappointing. It's going to depend on the role he's going to play, because Pop isn't going to rush him into anything. He's going to be in a controlled program here. He's not going to be jacking up a crazy amount of shots to finish with 22 points a game, 25 points a game. Scoot Henderson probably will have a better chance to put up huge numbers and win a Rookie of the Year. I don't think Wemby has to win a Rookie of the Year to have a successful season. And what does that mean anyway?
It's one of those things. It's about the hype. It's about the fact that he's a generational talent. And if you come into the draft saying that he's the best talent since LeBron James, you have to take that trophy.
It just depends on who else is in the draft, the talent in the draft, and the roles that they play. Because, as mentioned earlier, the game has changed so much. The younger player can come in and step right in and put up huge numbers.
No one considers Scoot Henderson or Brandon Miller or Amen Thompson to be generational talents. They consider them to be very good potential all-stars, but the phrase generational talent has not been used on any of those players.
Yeah, but that phrase doesn't mean that you win awards initially.
Well,
in time, he will.
Who have been the generational talents, though? I mean, they have been recently Shaq, LeBron James. They've been Zion Williamson.
Did Zion win Rookie of the Year?
I don't think he. Well,
I would really doubt that.
I don't know if he did. If
I need to look that up, and I don't think he did.
May not have played enough games.
Exactly.
But the fact of the matter is that typically, if you have that title, Tim Duncan was that title, David Robinson was that title. You do very, very well. Now, speaking of Rookie of the Year, DraftKings, the online sports book, posted over the weekend their odds for Rookie of the Year. Right now, they have Victor Wembanyama at minus 225. Simply put, that means that he has a 68% chance, according to that particular sports book, of winning Rookie of the Year.
I'd make a few dollars and put it on Scoot Henderson to win.
Well, Scoot Henderson's at 3.5 to 1 odds.
Yeah.
So you bet $100, you profit $350.
Yeah.
Number 3 player, though, interesting, was somebody that's not even going to be drafted this year. It was somebody that was drafted last year. Chet Holmgren of the Oklahoma City Thunder is ranked number 3 right now, third best odds to win Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, because he didn't play any last year, which reminds you of, oh, goodness, why am I drawing a blank? He was with OU and missed his first season with the Clippers.
Blake
Griffin.
Yeah,
exactly.
Brandon Miller, 9.5 to 1 odds. Now, if you want to know a rookie that is going to get the opportunity to go ball out and get a lot of shot attempts, if you want to have that long shot to win it, Brandon Miller at 9.5 to 1 odds. I like it, coming out of Alabama.
Okay, but you wouldn't put money on that because you feel that Wemby needs to win Rookie of the Year.
No, Wemby needs to win it. But what I'm saying is that I'm feeling frisky in Vegas. If I'm feeling frisky with an online sports book and I want to go for odds, 9.5 to 1, it's kind of tasty.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Amen Thompson is 5th odds at 14 to 1. Cam Whitmore out of Villanova at 20 to 1. That guy, Cam Whitmore, my goodness. Maybe not this year, but 3 years from now, we're going to be looking back at this draft and wondering, why did people skip or pass, rather, on Cam Whitmore?
Okay.
Now,
I'm interested in waiting those 3 years to see if that's true.
Now, when it comes to the MVP award, okay.
Don't even say Wemby.
No, I'm not going to say Wemby. The odds-on favorites, though, found it to be interesting. The top 4.
I haven't even looked, but the number 1 has to be the Joker again.
Joker.
Because he didn't win it this year when he should have.
Yeah, he should have. And there was fatigue around it. He had won it back-to-back years. They weren't going to do it 3 years in a row. But the top 4 players right now,
okay,
all foreigners: Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, Giannis, Joel Embiid. It's weird how the European players have come in to dominate at the NBA level, and that's why I get super excited about Victor Wembanyama, because he's coming into the U.S. The NBA court is wider, it is longer, gives more space. The referees give more preference to the offensive players.
Yeah.
Defenders can't body up as much. Wemby's going to go off when he gets over here. And it's just one of those things where I look at, and I think that foreign-born players have taken over the NBA simply because they're better and they're better team players.
Or because the rules and the style of the game has gone from international directed to the U.S. The U.S. game is more international than it has ever been, with the ability to get up and down the floor, take your shots without being touched. It's just more offensive-minded, which was the international game in the past.
The game has changed a bit. And this is kind of like comparing the NFL from 20 years ago to today. It's night and day difference, right?
Oh, yeah.
The passing yardage that goes on today is ridiculous, because if you had put Dan Marino or John Elway in this rules of 2023, they would have had so many more yards than what they did.
I think it was 1973, right around there, when Joe Namath shocked the world and threw for 4,007 yards.
Yes.
I think that was the amount, the first to go over 4,000 yards.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting 4,000 yards by week what now?
13.
Exactly. Because you can't cover a receiver anymore. You can't touch anyone. You can't hit a quarterback. So You put Joe Namath in that season today, that's 6,000 yards.
Oh, no. I'm not
Yes,
going to
it
go that
is.
far. Joe Namath doesn't even belong in the Hall of Fame, for crying out loud.
All right, now that's a different day because that's nonsense. When you always bring that crap up, that's always such nonsense.
I reeled that one out
because
of you.
the game has changed so much. I know he has more interceptions than touchdowns for a
Yes.
career, and a lot of the quarterbacks out of that era have more interceptions than touchdowns.
Throwing
Because
hand grenades out there.
No, because you could mug a receiver. You could
Yeah.
hit a receiver with the ball was in the air.
I just know that it just gets you pissed off. I did that to piss you off more than anything
nonsense.
else. Okay, so
take my cans off and go home.
Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, Giannis, Joel Embiid are all between 5 and 6 to 1 odds to win the MVP next season. There are 42 players ahead of Victor Wembanyama.
And that should be the case.
Wemby coming in at 130 to 1 odds. Now, if you go back in time and you think about these generational talents, whether it be Shaq or it be LeBron James, typically you see a big comeback from the team. The team bounces back. And you see anywhere between a 12 and a 26 game increase in wins.
I know where you're going, yeah.
Spurs right now, 22 and 60 this past season. Vegas has them in line to win around 35 or 36 games.
Okay.
I believe the Spurs are going to win 46. I think as constituted right now, even without a big name free agent coming in, the Spurs are going to have a winning record. I'm not saying the Spurs are going to win 50. I'm not saying that they're going to win 55. I'm just saying that they're going to be north of 500 and be a competitive team.
I think their floor is 37 and their ceiling is 45 to 47.
Okay. Any reason why you think the floor is 37?
Well, because of Wemby, number one. I think he's going to be good for 12 to 15 extra wins. I think there's going to be a more emphasis on winning this upcoming season, not building so much. They're going to continue to try to build, but they will be in more games down the stretch to win games with Wemby.
One of the great things that I hear about Victor Wembanyama is the fact that I've heard reporters talk about his personality, and they said, give me a personality that he is, because we see what he does on the highlights. But the one thing that we don't understand, because whenever he speaks in French, it gets lost in translation. What kind of guy is he on the court? And a lot of people describe him as Kevin Garnett on the court.
That's a dog.
As a just like gets pissed off, is fiery, would be willing to clap back at a coach. That he's a dog.
Okay, see, I didn't know that about him.
And because of that, they're saying that it's just one of those things where if someone tries to show him up, he wants to go back and show that guy up. But he smiles and he looks very nice. You know, he looks very Tim-like, looks like very David-like. But really, there's something there that's a little bit more aggressive personality-wise that maybe we're not expecting to see.
Yeah, you don't have to be a trash talker or overly loud on the court to be a complete dog. And it sounds like he has that ability. He has that instinct, that in him to be a dog. And if he is, this is just going to set up for really an incredible first season. Not a rookie of the year, possibly first season. Don't be, upset if he's not the rookie of the year. But to be able to see what will be an incredible amount of growth this year will be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
And if he's like a sponge, and if he's willing to work with Pop, you can imagine how Pop and that coaching staff, the excitement level they have going on right now. And if he's a sponge and he's willing to learn, imagine how much his game is going to grow just this year.
I want to see exactly how they're going to use him, because I think he is so versatile at what he does. It's going to take a while for the Spurs to figure out the right combination around him. Is the right combination to surround him with shooters? Is it to surround him with size? Is it to surround him with people who are better passers? And I think that that's the interesting thing going into the season, is that we might not know the right combination until 2 months into the season.
That's it.
Until Christmas time. Because you look at the Spurs lineup, I want Zach Collins out there with him. That's 2 7-footers out there. And it's not because I'm looking for a Twin Towers type of thing, though that is something that is impressive, because Zach Collins, I like Zach Collins because he can stretch the floor. He can knock down a three at a decent clip. He could play good defense, and he's also a bit of a dog himself.
Yeah, he can do the dirty work.
And I want somebody on the court so that somebody, because Wemby's going to have a big target on his back. And if somebody bodies Wemby up, gets dirty, or whatever the case may be, I want a Spur player to go up there and defend Victor Wembanyama, because you kind of need that around a superstar. You need to have that dog around. You need that Steven Jackson. You need that Mario Ellie.
Oh, yeah.
You need that Bruce Bowen. You need that player that says, not today, not that guy.
Since you're throwing out the old names there, Terry Cummings.
Yes. Those you need somebody like that. And Zach Collins, he might look like a preppy.
Yeah.
But
he looks like Richie Cunningham, but
he does. But guy has a dog attitude in him, and I like it. I like Zach Collins more and more. I have fallen in love a little bit with Zach Collins a little bit more as time has gone on.
He grew on me last year.
Yeah,
because prior years, in Portland was it initially?
Portland, yeah.
He wasn't doing it for me. A lot of missed opportunities, I thought, with him.
But
with the Spurs, it started to come together. It was like, okay, not bad.
So I like seeing him there. I'm really interested in seeing if the Spurs. Well, you have Vassell. Vassell's my favorite Spur.
Yeah.
You have Keldon Johnson. It's going to be interesting to see what he does and how he meshes with Keldon Johnson. When I say he, being Wemby, because Wemby, I know I say that he can play all five positions, but to me, he's a 7'5" small forward in a weird way, because he likes to play from the outside in. He doesn't mind posting up, but he likes to play from the outside in more often than not. And I look at him play, and I'm thinking to myself, my goodness, that's Keldon's job. That's Keldon's spot. Where Wemby likes to shoot, that's where Keldon typically shoots. That might be the odd man out a little bit.
There's a chance, though, with Wemby coming in, Vassell and Johnson's numbers will drop a little, but they will be better ball players.
Right. And then you have the other young guys from Blake Wesley, Malachi Branham. A lot of very young talent there. Trey Jones is a free agent. Will they bring him back? The name that I haven't mentioned, though, is Jeremy Sohan. And I'm looking forward to a front court of Sohan, Wemby, and Zach Collins. I think those three right there are going to give people fits. And I love the fact, I think the biggest benefactor of Wemby coming to San Antonio is Jeremy Sohan. I gave Sohan a lot of grief last year.
That's why I'm laughing at something you said last year about him. You said, will somebody give that dude a packet of emergency? Because he always has a cold or something.
The dude, okay, so the problem was with Sohan, it's not that it's his fault, it's that they asked him to do everything. And I guess they wanted to see what he could do, what he could accomplish.
Yeah, it's a learning year. And
whether or not it was going to be a Kawhi type of moment, where you go from being a 7-point per game player to being an all-star. Can you do that? I think Sohan could be a very, very good player, but I see him as like a very good third option on a team, maybe even a decent second option on a team. And now that he has that running mate with Wemby, I think we're going to see Sohan blossom better, because it's not going to be all eyes on him. Because right now, if you're the focal point of the offense, everything is geared to stopping you. And everyone's going to be looking at Wemby. And it's going to open things up for Vassell to knock down threes. It's going to open up driving lanes for Keldon Johnson. It's going to open up so much for Malachi Branham. But the biggest benefactor to me of Victor Wembanyama coming to San Antonio is Jeremy Sohan, because Sohan can just simply be good at what he's good at already, which is the mid-range game, which is doing all the dirty work, which is getting rebounds, which is basically being a complementary, solid 2 or 3 guy on the court.
This year, then, you think he can become a 2 this season?
Like the second best player on the team?
Yes.
I'm probably thinking the next season.
Okay, that's where I'm more at. Next season.
I think the
following season.
Second best player on this team this year is probably going to be Devin Vassell.
Should be.
It better be.
Yeah.
It better be. He is in a contract year. So I'm assuming the Spurs are going to extend him before the season starts, but he is in a contract year. Spurs have a team option on him. Joined by Anthony Pittman, longtime sports anchor here in San Antonio. You remember him from back in the day. He's one of my closest friends. He's also Also, someone that I used to work with back in the day over at KBB. For those of you who don't know, I was also a producer and news reporter over there for 5 years. Also worked at Ken's 5 back in the day. So it's nice hanging out with Anthony, helping me with the heavy lifting. Again, the MJ Acquired Taste is sponsored by Locked On Spurs. Follow Jeff Garcia on Twitter. It's daily content. Locked On Spurs is a podcast that I follow on Spotify, but it's daily content about the Spurs. Our producer, Joe Garcia, was on yesterday. I was on last week, but he has several people from around San Antonio on a daily basis to talk about the silver and black, to talk about our team. Love having you here, Anthony, because you're helping me out. You're helping me clear my voice a bit.
That's what friends are for.
Yeah, I feel so upset because I'm super excited about this show, but I can't be as animated as I typically am. I hope my voice is projecting loud enough, but people were giving me so much crap because the doctor told me that I was going to have to get a shot in the ass, and 40 minutes later comes back in, gives it to me in the arm instead.
Oh, you were... So he came back into the office and your pants were at your ankles and he was like, hey, man, pull that up.
Yeah, I was already grabbing my waistband. I was like, okay, how are we doing?
No, Mike already had like a nalga out, hanging out.
Yeah, I was like left leg up
Left
or right leg
nalgas?
up. Yes. But you are also from San Antonio.
See.
Okay, so we were watching this TikTok earlier where someone was talking about the most dangerous
neighborhoods in San Antonio.
Okay.
So, I grew up in one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in San Antonio. Faux show.
Okay, so these two guys from San Antonio just hamming it up and talking about the most dangerous areas in San Antonio. And they said, number 1, Marbach. You are a John Jay graduate.
Yes.
I grew up 2 exits over off of Ingram at Holmes High School.
You barely missed out on going to Jay then. No. You're right there at home.
Yeah,
right
I was the center of it all.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny because that Holmes Jay rivalry over the years was a thing back in the day. Not so much now.
Yeah, unfortunately, not anymore.
But back in the day, Holmes Jay was a thing.
Was crazy. Crazy.
Do you want me to show the clip?
Yeah, go ahead and show the clip.
Okay,
At least the beginning part of the clip.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and share the screen. Hold on one sec.
Ooh, the capabilities here are pretty nice.
We can get some video going, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so here we go. We'll go ahead and start the first.
Top 7 most dangerous hoods in San Antonio. Yeah. Number 1, Marbach. Number 2, Wheatley Heights. Number 3, Vela de San Nanto. Number 4, Eastwood Village. Number 5, Denver Heights. Number 6, Nevada Street. 7, East Terrell Hill.
Okay, so these guys are super tatted up, and I got a feeling that they've only been to 2 of those neighborhoods. Like, how did they name all the other ones? Were they looking up SAPD stats? What was going on over there?
I think that's the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I don't think they've been to all of the neighborhoods.
We were
Wait, did
telling
they say
Jeff.
Westwood Village in there. What did I hear? Westwood Village or what was that?
No, he said Westwood Village.
Okay.
Okay.
But yesterday we were talking with Jeff and we told him he ain't ready for Marbach. And they said the most dangerous neighborhoods in San Antonio, number 1, Marbach.
Yeah.
He ain't ready, man. I'm telling you, he ain't ready.
I don't know if Marbach is the most dangerous.
I don't think it is either. I don't think it is either. Though, that area right in front of Jay High School can be a little sketchy.
Oh yeah.
Can be a little sketchy, but
Hey, that frutaria is bomb. It's fire, man.
It is.
That Fred's fish fry
And,
over there.
and I've been to that Golden Walk over there off of Marbach, and
That's the
Fort
jewel
that is
of
the
Marbach.
But I tell you what, whatever pawn shop that's right there,
Oh yeah, it's been there
The
forever.
Cash
man.
America.
it is massive. It is massive. It's like, where can I find the kidneys? Because they have everything there.
Dude,
okay?
they have 2. They have the one on Military, right? And then they have the one that's right here off of Marbach
Yeah.
and 410, and it's right behind the Golden Walk. That one,
Yeah.
that one is massive. You can find anything in there.
Yeah. And it's sad.
Marbach ain't exactly Rodeo Drive, but I don't know if I want to put it as the worst in San Antonio.
No,
I
it's
feel
not.
like there are other places I don't want to be walking around. You know what I'm saying? Especially after dark.
And it's funny because I love Ingram Park Mall. Even to this day, I love Ingram Park Mall. And people give me so much crap about that. They're like, oh, Ingram? Why don't you go to North Star? Why don't you go to
La
La
Cantera.
Cantera? I'm like, no, I don't want to go to the shops.
It's a
I don't
different vibe.
I walk around Ingram and I'm like, this is where that one scene from Selena happened, going down the escalator. This was the store from, the scenes from that movie. It's great times, man. Ingram Park Mall still does it for me. If I ever go to any mall, that's where I go to.
You have to go to the All-American Cookie Factory, right? To
That's
get the
right.
lemonade and the cookie, man.
That's right. Shout out to my boy David.
Yeah.
David Zamora's worked there for many, many years.
I don't want to bring up this particular fish restaurant, fast food fish restaurant's name,
Okay.
but in the parking lot at Ingram Park Mall, is there still a
Long John's?
I didn't want to say the name. Yeah, a Long John. Is it still there?
No, I think they turned that into a wings place.
Okay, good. And I can tell the story then.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went to Long John's twice in 1 week and got sick both times. The first time I thought, all right, it had to be me. So I went back and I got the same meal and got sick again.
You went back.
Twice in the same week.
Man.
Oh, I think about it now and I still want to vomit.
But you know where you don't get sick? Fred's Fish Fry, dude.
Dude, no, man. Fred's Fish Fry for me, it pisses me off because growing up, my dad would buy Fred's Fish Fry every Friday,
Okay.
and I did not eat fish. I still don't eat fish to this day.
Oh, man.
So basically, everybody was
You're
feasting.
too good for it?
Everyone was feasting at my family, right, around the dinner table, and I'm there going, I don't eat fish. I don't eat seafood.
So are you just watching or were you?
I'm just watching and complaining for about 20 years.
Man, just try going around the other jewel of Marbach, which is El Bucanero.
El Bucanero?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't they have one on like 281 and Bitters?
Yeah, that's different, man.
That's the fancy one.
That's the fancy one, dude.
Yeah.
That's for the Stone Oak Mexicans. We're ghetto over here. We're ghetto fabulous over here.
Wait, Joe, where'd you go to school?
Oh, me? I went over there to West Campus, dude. I was over there by Ray Ellison,
Oh, okay.
off of Ray Ellison.
Home of Devin Brown.
He's like,
Yeah.
he's like literally pointing. I went over there.
Yeah,
I went
it's
over there, yeah.
Yeah, you know what? It's true story though. I did see Devin Brown ball when he was a kid, man. I used to play basketball with his cousin Terry way back in the day.
West Campus, home of Rob Thompson, I believe, from San Antonio Sports.
It is. Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah.
You know what though? I grew up off of Penn Road.
Yeah.
And Military Drive, and it was a good neighborhood. And then something happened overnight. It's like, wait, how did this happen? I have to watch my back. We're all having to watch our backs. Now, I would put that area ahead of Marbach.
Okay. Basically,
Marbach's too ritzy compared to Penn Road, yo.
Basically, if you see sneakers up against the lines up in the sky,
Oh yeah,
the telephone lines.
The telephone lines, yeah,
Yes, you know you're going into an area that you got to keep your head on a
yeah.
swivel.
That and the graffiti alone tells you, man.
graffiti,
Yes.
a 2-year-old walking around outside his house at midnight. Yeah,
And just the pamper.
and
just
just
the
and
pamper.
looking at you like, and
No, you know you have arrived when you're on Marbach or the south side, the west side. When you pull up to the HEB parking lot and you see the dirty diaper there, just laying on the ground. That's how you know you arrived.
oh, I love it. I love it. But you know, it's Marbach. That was my home. John J. Mustangs. That's right.
Oh, so
Very,
you're
very
familiar
proud.
with the duck pond then?
Oh,
Oh
hell
yeah.
definitely. Yes.
Now you're talking about the duck pond over on.
No, this is the fancy duck pond. The one that's over here just down the street from
Yeah,
where I
okay,
live.
okay,
No, we're
okay.
talking about the duck pond.
Off like Dugas, that street.
Yeah,
that
Dugas,
area.
there you go.
Dugas.
There you go. Yeah.
Gosh.
Hanging out with Anthony Pittman, longtime sportscaster here in San Antonio. Was also a sportscaster in Amarillo newscaster in Amarillo.
Yeah.
Sportscaster in West Palm Beach.
Met my wife in Amarillo.
That's right. She's here in San Antonio at Kent's 5 as
Exactly.
well. It's funny because I've known you for so long. I've known you for goodness. I met you in 2000.
Since 2000.
And I know that because we got hired at the same
Yeah.
time at KBB. We did like the same day we got hired. We were given the tour together of the facility. And I was a news producer and a news reporter over there. You were the sports anchor and reporter. And it was so much fun for 5 years going in and just hanging out with you the entire time. People either loved us or hated us over there simply because of our personalities. But my goodness, it's so great to have you here. Some of the stories, though, that we have, and this is one of the weird things I always say, is that if we had iPhones like we have now back then,
Oh Lord.
the photos and videos that we would have, but they don't exist. You know, they don't exist because knowing us, we would have been selfie guys over there. We would have had video of us karaokeing. We would have had
We would
video
have
of
done
us
that.
at parties and things like that, or with interviewing celebrities and things like that. Tell me about some celebrities that you interviewed And we're going to talk about one and show a photo of one later on.
Okay.
But who are some other ones that you've met over the years where you thought to yourself, that was a pretty cool guy or gal, or that was a horrible experience?
Okay, I'll go with the horrible first.
Okay.
When I worked in West Palm Beach, I grew up a Miami Dolphins fan. So it's next door to Miami. It was opportunity to be with the Dolphins, travel with them. And I met Dan Marino. And he was I was a huge Marino guy. And he turned out not to be what I hoped he was going to be.
Never meet your heroes, dude.
Yeah, he was all the years working with him, covering him, very gruff. He just wasn't the guy I was hoping to be. You know, I'm sure he's a great guy.
Wow, man.
But, you know, I didn't get to know him on that level. I got to know Don Shula a little, and he turned out to be great. And there's Pop and Don Shula are very similar, and they're very sarcastic.
Yeah.
And they have forgotten more about their sports than I will ever know. But he was great in the long run. We talked about this on a couple of occasions, but Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
Incredibly nice guy. And I'm not a big country music fan, but got the opportunity to interview him and meet him. And he remembered my name because I had introduced myself quickly to him about an hour before. If you can imagine this, you're in a setting where it's a bunch of media folks asking a question before he's going to do a concert in a few hours. I said, hey, I'm Anthony from station in Amarillo. Ask a question. Then I had an opportunity to do a sit down with him, a one-on-one after all of that is over. And he comes up to me, hey, Anthony. And I was like, that's nice. He remembered my name from like an hour ago. And just a very quick reference, but incredibly nice guy. Very interesting, very honest.
I love Garth Brooks. My daughter goes to LSU, and one of his hit songs is called Callin' Baton Rouge.
Mm-hmm.
And the big popular bar that's on campus there, just outside of campus there at LSU, plays that song at the top of the hour every single day.
Okay.
So you know how long you've been there by how many times you've heard Callin' Baton Rouge. He's making news right now. Don't want to get into politics at all, but if you follow the story that's going on right now,
I read that.
He's
Bud Light.
Yeah, he's opening a bar called Friends in Low Places in Nashville in southern Broadway, which is the party district over there. It's their version of 6th Street, if you will. I was just there 2 weeks ago. And they're opening up a bar called Friends in Low Places. And they asked him the question, will Bud Light be sold there? And he goes, yeah. He goes, I'm going to leave it up to my customer to decide whether they want it or not. And he left it at that. But Garth Brooks making news. And dude, that's somebody that I want to go see in concert. I'm dying to go see. Not a big country music fan, but I don't consider Garth to be country. He was something different. But one of the great things you've told me about him was that you asked him a question about Trisha Yearwood, his wife,
Mm-hmm.
and the music.
Who was there at the interview, standing off 5 feet away watching the interview.
And the music that she likes of his, which I think is spectacular. What was it?
And we joked about this for many years.
Yes, because we love this.
Because we liked the album, actually.
Yes.
When he took on this different persona of a pop star and was no longer a country star for a year or two, and he went by the name Chris Gaines.
Yes.
And he put out this album as Chris Gaines, which was a bunch of pop covers, which were basically his favorite songs from the 60s and 70s, I think.
Could be.
That was the avenue
I'm
he
not
took.
sure.
Was some of his favorite songs growing up. And when I asked him, so what's your wife's favorite music? What's your wife's favorite Garth Brooks album? And he looked at me and he smiled and he says, you'd be surprised if you asked her. And I said, no, Chris Gaines? And he just laughed. And I looked off to the side and she was nodding her head.
That's so
the
great.
Chris Gaines album.
That's so great because the song Lost in You by Chris Gaines, a.k.a. Garth Brooks, or should I say it the other way around, is amazing. It's a great song. And Childish Gambino, the rapper, superstar rapper, hip-hop artist, he covered that song and did a great version of it.
Yeah.
It's funny because people didn't like it because Garth Brooks was a certain persona. He was supposed to be in this movie that never happened. So they created the music for the movie before the movie ever appeared. And he was supposed to be this rock star, this emo rock star. And I'm looking at photos of him right now.
I completely forgot about
Can you look up Chris Gaines, Joe? Is there a way we could put up a photo of that?
Yeah, I'll work on it right now.
Yeah, the Garth Brooks Chris Gaines thing was epic because if you play somebody that song Lost in You and you don't tell them that it's Garth Brooks, they're going to say it's a wonderful song. If you tell them that it's Garth Brooks and then play the song, they'll tell you that they hate it.
Yeah, they're going to poo-poo it for sure.
Because there's a certain thing about it. They're like, well, that doesn't sound like the Thunder Rolls. That doesn't sound like Two of a Kind working on a Full House. They get pissed off because they're like, well, what do you mean? And a lot of people forget about this part of the 19.
Here you go. I got you, man. I'm
going
gonna show it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's the Chris Gaines.
There you
look
go.
there.
And you know what was really interesting about that time? This was when he was riding high when
Yeah.
he decided to do this. This is like the Beatles after Sgt. Pepper decided, you know what, we're going to go straight country
Exactly.
And they don't even look
and
like
change
him,
our
man.
names.
It
It
doesn't.
doesn't look like him.
Do you remember any of this at all, Joe?
I remember this. And look, here's the side-by-side comparison again. I mean, it does not look like him.
Yeah, you take away the cowboy hat, you take away the beard, you just leave a soul patch.
Well,
And there's another one.
when I interviewed him and I asked the question about what his wife liked, and Trisha Yearwood standing off to the side of the interview, I look over at her and she just whispers a line from a song, which apparently is telling me it was the song she liked on that album.
Yeah.
And it was a cover. And she just goes, come on, people now, smile on your brother. And just left it at that. And we're all just kind of laughing. So that must be the song she likes off that album, which was a cover. I forgot who did it. The Zombies or someone. I'm drawing a blank.
It's always been pretty cool having these careers where you get to meet people. You mentioned meeting Dan Marino and him being a jackass. The biggest.
So I don't want to put it that deep, but he wasn't the greatest. Just in case he's watching.
Yeah, the biggest jackass for me was Joe Montana.
No way. There's no way.
Joe Montana. Let me tell you the story. Radio Row, Super Bowl last year in LA.
Okay.
I see Joe Montana and I'm like, oh my God, I want to take a photo of him, take a photo with him. And I was fanboying out. It was my first Radio Row. So but everyone there is media. So it's like, if everyone's wanting a photo, it's because they're already media, right? He's doing an interview with NBC Sports or whatever. And afterwards, there's a police officer that looks at me and says, hey, can you get a photo of me with Joe Montana? I'm going to go ask for a photo. So the officer goes over and asks for a photo. And he says, okay.
Okay.
So there I am. I'm taking the photo of Joe Montana with this officer. Then the other officers go and see. And all of a sudden, I'm taking 6, 7, 8 photos. Then I take a big group photo. And I turned it to myself and I said, can I just get one with you? And he goes, no. And he walked out.
So he took the photos with all the officers.
Then
but not you.
I was the photographer for every single one of them. I did like 7 or 8 photos, different poses and whatnot. And everyone's still saying hi. So he hadn't like walked away yet.
Uh-huh.
And I said, can I just get one quick one with you? No.
Not even a, hey, I really got to go, man.
I'm
sorry.
Just no. And he walked off. And when I was at Radio Row this year, he was walking right by me. And I was like, and here comes the worst guy I've ever met in my entire life. As he walked by, I said, there's my nemesis, Joe Montana. You're no longer the GOAT in my eyes.
That really surprises me.
Yeah, complete jackass. And the
Wow.
funny thing is that
Joe Montana?
and that people were
Wow.
saying that he is that way.
No.
I'm
wow,
not.
man.
I'm not a Cowboys fan, but one of the nicest people I've ever met was Emmitt Smith.
Troy Aikman for me.
Great guy. I met Ocho Cinco at Radio Row a couple years ago. He was amazing. Byron Scott was really nice. Eric Dickerson was really nice. With some pretty interesting people. But in the pop culture world, though, Vanilla Ice was really nice. Phil Collin of Def Leppard, the guitarist, talked my ear off. I met Carrie Underwood. She was a sweetheart. She carried Gabby around for like 30 minutes. My daughter.
I think the list of positive
It's higher than the
meetings are
negative.
so much
Yeah.
higher than the negative, but we tend to remember some of those negatives because they some are gut punches because
Yeah.
you don't want them to be.
Yeah. I got a true story for you guys. One of my cousins, he was over at Jerry World watching a Cowboy game. And he was at some type of a tailgate, one of the Cowboys, ex-Cowboys has. So they went to that tailgate and they had a great time. And my cousin, as he's leaving the tailgate, happens to see his idol from way back in the day, Tony Dorsett.
Okay.
He's wearing a Tony Dorsett jersey and he's so excited. And he's like, oh my God. He goes, Tony Dorsett. He goes, you have no idea. I'm your biggest fan. and Tony Dorsett just looks at him and just like ignores the hell out of him.
Oh no!
And he's like, can I at least get a photo with you? No, and just took away. Just looked away and took off. My cousin was so upset he took off his Tony Dorsett jersey at that same moment and threw it in the garbage. He says, "I'm done with the guy."
Now I understand if you go across somebody and they are, working, they're with their family, they're eating.
Yeah,
I would understand that, but it's so difficult, and you got to understand, like, they get this all the time. I felt so bad when I was at the Dominion a few years ago. My daughter Gabby was playing in a tennis tournament, and to the far corner you see Manu Ginobili practicing his tennis game.
Okay.
And people are stopping him for a photo, and I didn't want to do that. I'm in my 40s. I don't need a photo with Manu, right? I love Manu, my favorite Spur of all time, I would say that he is. Don't need a photo, but you can tell that he was like, "Oh, do I have to?" But he did, and he smiled and he took photos with the entire team, and then he went on with his day. But when you meet a celebrity, sometimes it's a one-off. Sometimes they remember your name an hour later, like Garth Brooks did. Sometimes they remember our names years later, months later.
I think I know where you're going with this one.
So this is a bad transition into a story that we got made fun of so bad.
Yeah. I'm going to pull something up while you do this.
Okay, so back in the early 2000s, I was a news reporter. 2004. And I was a news reporter at the time at KBB, and you had to come up with, story ideas, right? And I decided that I wanted to do a story that was related to sports. And I decided that I was going to try to find something Boston Red Sox related, because they had just won the World Series for the first time in, 86 years, something like that.
Yeah.
So it was right around then. And I said, I got to find something Boston going on. So I'm going through the paper, going through the current, I'm going online, and I see that Jordan Knight from New Kids on the Block was scheduled to play at a bar on the Northeast side.
He was doing a solo tour.
A solo tour with just him and a piano or something like that.
Small venues.
A small bar. I mean, the bar probably couldn't have had more than 200 people in there. And I was like, oh my God, he's from Boston. So I told you about it, and you came along for the story, and we did two different versions of the story. And then after the interview,
newsy version,
and then
something we were going to air in sports.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have a photo, by the way, that we can show.
Yeah, it's kind of old.
That was the first day that we met Jordan Knight from New Kids on the Block. And I say the first time that we met him because he invited us to hang out that night. So he was like, what time do y'all get off? I'm like, we get off work at 10. Come out. My show doesn't start till 10:30. We race on down there. We go backstage. It was like the back of a bar.
Yes.
I have my camera, like my video camera out, my camcorder, and I have video of us still to this day of you two singing to each other.
Yes, we're singing it was either Bet You by Golly Wah it was a stylistic song. It was a stylistic song, but I can't remember if it was that one. As she turns the corner, you are everything.
You are everything to me, and I'm everything to you.
Yes. I remember that.
I have that video still. And you guys were serenading each other. And it was the funniest thing. After the show, we ended up grabbing drinks. And he goes, hey, what are y'all doing tomorrow? He goes, I am performing in
San Marcos.
San Marcos, right? And we drove to San Marcos the next day. And then he called us again.
Yeah.
And
we drove after work.
Yeah, we drove after work, and then he performed in Austin.
We had the 9 o'clock show to do, so we were done at 10.
Yeah.
And we hightailed it to San Marcos. Well, they were waiting for us. They're like,
yeah, come on in. So we hung out with him like 3 times over the course of a week. And they called my work line.
Uh-huh.
And everyone's like coming around my desk going, is that Jordan Knight? Is that Jordan Knight?
Like, I still have his number.
You still have his number. There you go.
I don't know if it works anymore.
Yeah.
Hey, you should try calling him up and see who wants to be a guest on the show.
And then they called us up a year later.
204 area code. So where did he get his phone? What's
I
204
remember he was
area
living
code?
in Orlando at the time.
Oh, was he? I thought he was. No, I think he was still in Boston because he lived in the same building with Kevin Millar.
A 210 area code is going to be Dallas, Texas.
204.
204.
204. Okay. Let's see.
Trying to figure this out. But it was
That is Canada, Manitoba, Canada.
uh-oh.
Jeez, why did he have a Canadian?
That could have been his agent.
Oh, that's true.
I forgot that guy's name, but they reached out to
Chad
us.
Zimmerman.
Chad, that's right.
I remember all of this.
Yeah, and then they came back a year later. We hung out with them again, but it wasn't as warm and fuzzy as the times before. But so funny. That story, though, my friends gave me so much crap. But the photo that we have was from a disposable camera, right? It wasn't from like an iPhone. The video that we would have of that moment would have been so much fun to revisit. I just have this 4x6 at home.
Yeah, I have a couple of photos the same. They're obviously not on a phone.
Yeah.
But they are hardcore photos. I don't even know what they are anymore. I wish I had one of them. One of them is a really good picture we took together.
Yeah.
We look nice together.
He was a nice
I had
guy.
a nice shirt on that.
And we're not going to talk about what happened in San Marcos because let's just say
I'm drawing a blank.
Jordan was not he was not sober.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Wait, I got a question though, man.
We had a little bit too much one night.
Yeah.
I have a question though. If you go out with Pitt, does
Yeah.
he make you dress up like Jeff does?
Okay, so Jeff Garcia, Locked On
Makes you
Spurs,
dress
our
up.
sponsor, Locked On Spurs. Yeah, so Jeff Garcia,
He's from New York, man.
well, he's from San
A big
Antonio.
city.
San Antonio, right? But he's been living in New York for a decade, coming back home to San Antonio. Whenever he's here, we go out, right? But every time he wants to go out, he wants to get dressed up.
Oh. Okay.
And he's not a jeans and t-shirt kind of guy. He is and if he is a jeans and t-shirt kind of guy, it's the $80 t-shirt with the $300 pair of jeans. And I'm making fun of Jeff about that. I'm like, Jeff, you have to tone it down when you come back to San Antonio, especially if you're hanging out around Marbach. Okay,
Yeah, we can't be walking the streets of Marbach with Jeff dressed up like
I
that.
know
man.
the most dangerous street in San Antonio.
Those jeans will end up at the pawn store next. They're on Marbach and 410 because someone will lift them from him. But one of the things that you and I used to do back in the day, and it wasn't once, it wasn't twice, it was 300-400 times. You and I would go karaoke.
Oh yeah, of course.
Now, mind you, my voice is shot right now because of my infection, my ear infection. But still, a couple of things about karaoke with you. You would oftentimes sing Elvis.
Yes.
What song?
In the Ghetto.
Can I get a little bit of it?
Oh, I didn't come here to sing, man.
Come on, just 5 seconds.
No, come on.
5 seconds.
Just one bar. One bar.
As the snow flies on a cold and gray Chicago morning, a poor little baby child is born in the ghetto.
Hey,
In
man.
the ghetto.
There, I was
I
waiting
like
for the
that.
back.
I like that.
I know with my voice
back
right now,
up.
I can't do that high
you have to
pitch.
do the high pitch.
It's not going to come out.
Then yeah,
I
you don't even want to try.
And his mama cried.
I used to do Elvis. I used to do the Doors.
Dude, okay, so the movie The
I
Doors.
started karaoke doing the Doors.
The movie The Doors had just come out like 8 or 10 years before, right?
Yeah.
So there's that one scene where Val Kilmer turns around and he's not facing the audience. And when Pitt would go up to karaoke The Doors, he would face the wall
Yeah.
as opposed to facing the audience. It was so
In
classic.
tribute to Jim.
Now, there was one time you made fun of me because I sang Hall & Oates and couples
crushed it.
Okay. And couples started dancing.
It's the only time I've been at a karaoke bar and someone was singing so well and so many people enjoyed it, they rushed the floor to dance. And so couples, married couples, couples going out for the first time that night, all crushed the dance floor and were slow dancing.
Yeah, babies were born that night or were conceived
Yes.
that night, rather.
You were doing Hall & Oates, Sarah Smile.
Yeah, that was so funny, dude. Hall & Oates. And then we were talking about Garth Brooks earlier. One time I sang his version of Billy Joel's Shameless, and you gave me so much crap because you were like, dude, you growled just like Garth did. How did you do that? I was like, I was just into it. I was in the Goldilocks zone. One of my favorite stories about karaoke, you and I would go to Dad's karaoke on 410 Vance
And
Jackson,
Vance Jackson, yeah.
on Moss Rock Road.
Mhm.
There was one time when you and I went where there was this guy that came up to me. I had sang some song, I don't know, some rock song, and he came up to me and he goes, "Hey man, that was pretty good." I was like, "Okay." He goes, "Will you come sing with me?" And I'm thinking to myself, what song has two guys doing a duet? And I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, I can only think of one, Easy Lover, right? You know, Philip Bailey and Phil Collins. And then he gets he goes, "You'll know the song, you'll know the song." We get up on stage, he gets a bar stool, he sits on the bar stool, and he puts one behind him. So I'm not even like front and center
You're
with
not
him.
even a co-feature.
He has me
You're right.
he has me behind him diagonally, and the song starts, and it was "Wanted Dead or Alive" by Bon Jovi.
Oh, so he wanted you to do the Richie Sambora.
Yeah, I was the Sambora.
Wanted.
Yeah, so I could echo him. It was so great.
That's good.
It was so great.
That's bold. Good and bold.
Yeah, I was so disrespected, but at the same time, I understood. My affinity for George Michael, though, at karaoke.
George Michael seems to have been your go-to over the years.
Yeah, I counted. I've karaokeed 11 George Michael songs over the years.
I would have thought it was more.
Yeah. Joe, you karaoke?
Maybe when I had a couple drinks in me, I'll karaoke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when everyone gets brave.
So there were times when we would do karaoke roulette.
Okay.
And karaoke roulette is when we pick your song to go sing, and you have no input on it.
Yeah.
But
just kind of like spinning a wheel.
Yes, but it couldn't be embarrassing. I'm not going to have you sing Cyndi Lauper.
No, man, you got to put Spice Girls, Lady Gaga.
No. Karaoke roulette is when you go up there not knowing what song's going to be there, but it's a legit song.
Cyndi Lauper. I mean,
no, nothing embarrassing. And it's so funny.
True Colors is a good song to sing.
It's so funny. I remember one time somebody put up "Shine" by Collective Soul.
Hey, now I could get down with that, man.
And I was like, I never would have picked that song for myself, but I actually did very good on that one. It was really good.
I would love to sing "Smooth Criminal," but I'm too afraid to do it.
Hey, but you got to do the lean if you're going to do that.
That's right.
Got to work out for that one.
Do you know how to do Chamon very well?
Chamon? Not really. Because that was my Chamon right there. That was pretty poor.
That was very cool. Very cool. We hope to have you as part of our network in some fashion.
Man, can I talk about that for a quick
Yeah.
Because I would love to.
Yeah, because we're talking a little bit about redemption stories and the importance of those things.
Yeah, because it's part of my testimony. You know, I've rode some major highs and lows, made personal mistakes in life that I, had to pay for, had to have comebacks in life, in the process of a comeback right now in my life. I've been in some troubles that I had to get myself out of, unfortunately. So I've had some fallbacks and some comebacks. And that's what I'm thinking of, a podcast that I'd like to do. I've already been in contact with some interesting folks, some athletes, some recognizable names, some B-list actors, people of that note that would love to tell their stories of redemption, of falling and coming back. And I'm gonna call the show Fallbacks and Comebacks, and do it right here. And have some. They will mostly be split screen Zoom interviews with some people telling their stories. But I'm really excited about it.
The redemption stories are interesting because, we like to tear people down. That's just the way society is.
Yeah.
But oftentimes it's, can they bounce back from adversity? And those stories are important because when you're talking about sports, when you're talking about life, that's what we want to build around here with this network, is having the stories and having the ability to say, look, just because somebody is out doesn't mean that they can't bounce back and be a better person, be a better man, be a better husband, be a better father. Sometimes it's the reaction to the adversity that means more than the action itself. And I'm proud of you, Pitt, because
thanks, man.
I've known you for so long. And one of the greatest things about adversities is this, is that when you hit rock bottom, that's when you find out who your true friends are. I know that when I hit rock bottom years ago, and I was in therapy for depression and stuff like that, I found out who my true friends were. Some of the ones that I thought were really close went away. And some of the ones who I didn't even think of that would have been as supportive were my biggest cheerleaders.
Yeah, they're the ones who stepped up.
Yeah.
I definitely understand in that I go back to March 13th, 2010, which is the last day that I drank alcohol. So 13 years sober now, and alcohol was ruining my life.
I apologize for having Buffalo Trace.
No, hey, part of it being in recovery, lifelong recovery, is understanding that others drink and others have a good time in their own ways and do what you want. It's not going to affect me any longer, obviously. So there was a time when I had to, get out of the gutter, clean myself up because my life was being ruined with alcohol, which just leads to a series of bad decisions. So I say it all the time, it's part of my testimony. Twice, 050 had to pull me over and tell me, hey, what is going on with you? So I have that experience in life. I was up in Amarillo, got myself into some trouble, was arrested and charged with the solicitation charge that was changed to a public disturbance charge. But the damage had been done because it was on the internet. And I was fired from my job. Took a gut punch there, which is massively embarrassing and tests your character. And that's where I've been in the last few years, is coming back from that. And I realized there are so many stories out there of people who have made mistakes, have been knocked down on their own doing, but also uncontrollable reasons why they had to make a comeback in life. And that's what I want to do. I want them to be able to tell their stories. I want to dig deep with them into them to find out how they made their comeback and how they can help others. Because a redemption story can help so many people. And that's what I want to be a part of. And now you have the network here that hopefully I can be a part of, and we can tell these stories.
It's amazing because, and thank you so much for sharing part of your testimony when it comes to it all, because part of it is owning up to it, right? What do they say? The number one way to get over a problem is to admit that you have one.
Exactly.
And
face it.
And that's the thing is that we live in a society that sometimes wants to look down on people, get back on a keyboard and criticize and talk crap about somebody.
And that will always happen.
And that it'll always happen. But the thing about it is that you can reflect back and move forward. And sometimes that bounce back happens overnight. Sometimes it takes a year. Sometimes it takes longer. But if you're pointing in the right direction and you keep your center and you surround yourself with people who love you and share the vision that you have, that's going to be a better thing, because there are people listening to this right now who have been through similar situations where they've been arrested, where they've been through a divorce, where they've been through
financial
crisis, did something to themselves, said something that they shouldn't have said, and they need to know that there's a way to make it right. And what are some of the steps that you did to try to make things right?
A lot of therapy, true friends. My wife, after I got into my trouble in Amarillo, we were engaged. She still married me a month later. So I tripped up. I admitted my mistake. It wasn't nearly as bad in retrospect as the internet portrayed it to be, enough for me to lose my job. As I like to say, I lost my job over a $250 ticket. But my family and supporting group lifted me up. Faith lifted me up. Without God, my goodness, I don't know how I could have managed. And true friends like you, after this happened in Amarillo, you were one of the few who called me. I thought I had a bunch of friends and a lot that I haven't talked to since, because I realized, oh my goodness, they're not friends. They know what happened. They can't text me. They can't call. Because I've always felt like I was the person who, if someone got into some issues or had a tragedy in life, I'd reach out to them. You reached out to me the next day, and I appreciate that.
Okay, I love you, man. I mean, you are a very good friend, and it's one of those things where when I was going through something bad, when I was at my most miserable, you were there for me. And I think that a lot of times people don't want to associate themselves with people who are going through something difficult because they think it's a reflection on them.
I've heard that many times. Yeah.
And that's the biggest crock of crap that I've ever heard of in my entire life. To be a good person and a good friend, you need to be there with somebody, good times and in bad. It's like a marriage.
Yeah.
It's like a marriage of it's a platonic marriage, if you will. When I married my wife, it's good times, bad, richer or poor. And Selena and I have had all of that. But we're together and we're strong. We're a strong couple because we work on it. But when it comes to friendships, it's that way too. When I lost my radio gig a week ago, there were people who came at me right away, either sending a text, sending a DM, and it was so uplifting to see. And I'm not keeping score as to like a checklist, like Santa going, this person called me, this person didn't, right?
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. I'm not creating a naughty and a nice list. But I do look back at the ones that called immediately, and I remember them. And it's one of those things where I'll never forget that in a good way.
I had a therapist who got very honest with me and told me I was keeping a naughty and nice list.
Really?
And I was holding on to the hurt of people who didn't reach out to me. And he explained to me how it was just nonsense. You don't need a naughty and nice list. So it's really interesting to hear you say that. I had to work past that to just live my life for me and those close to me and my God, and be as positive I can, which sometimes is really rough. My wife will tell you sometimes, staying positive with me is kind of tough because I ride those emotions.
My lowest point was probably about 15 years ago. And I was going through depression, was going through therapy, had a lot of issues going on. And I lost friends because they couldn't see me that way anymore. I was always a very positive guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a very happy guy. And when I was at my worst, they couldn't take it anymore. I was self-destructive. And because I was self-destructive, I needed something to get me out of that funk. And sometimes you could do it on your own. Sometimes it takes family. Sometimes it takes friends. Sometimes it takes a community. For some people, it's church or whatever the case may be. But for me, part of it was my daughter, Gabby, and realizing that I needed to focus on her. And the other part of it was that I had to focus on work. I had to focus on something that I could control, right? Something that I could find a success in that I could control and grab a hold of that. I started to focus on my health. And beyond that, at some point, I ended up meeting my wife. And I remember meeting Selena and thinking to myself, I'm going to marry her. I knew I was going to marry her on our first date. And I told her on our first date, like a psycho, that I'm going to marry you.
Surprised you didn't run.
No, her response back was, I know.
Meant to be.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. It was the weirdest date that I had ever been on in my entire life, where it was like a hurricane that was my life. I was in depression. I was in financial crisis. I was in all of this stuff. And I met my wife, and I was like in the eye of the storm, where it was just calm. And I have gotten to be more successful in business, successful in having success in radio, having success in other areas of life. The house that we have now is beautiful. I don't have the financial worries that I had before. All of that stuff was simply because I found that one to center me, and I'm glad that you have that center with your wife as well. But it's interesting that you are willing to share that. I'm an open book myself.
Yeah.
Because it's funny. We have people on Facebook or Twitter who listen to the show, sometimes like to rag on me, and people oftentimes ask, how are you able to put up with that? How are you able to put up with people criticizing you or putting you down? And it's because A, I find it funny. B, I don't take anything personally. And C, I've seen worse days. And because I've seen worse days and I'm better off now, I know I can overcome anything.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing. And I would love to have stories with you and profiles with you and the people that you think that our people should be introduced to. But man, Anthony, I've enjoyed being with you today.
Well, same here, man. I really appreciate it. It's fun going down memory lane. It's fun talking about important issues, and in this case, some issues that can help other people. So yeah, when you need me, I'm around. When your voice is out,
There you
I
go.
can step in and
Just
help
fill
you.
Fill in.
Or if you just need me for anything, hey, football's coming up, and I'd love to be a part of fantasy football. I'm around, man.
There you go.
You know I'm around.
There you go. Again, that is Anthony Pittman, good friend of mine, good friend of the show. Joe Garcia has produced today's show.
Yeah, Joe.
The show, first time ever on YouTube.
YouTube, yeah,
Oh,
officially.
yeah, we're up on YouTube.
We're
Today.
YouTube live today.
Yeah. And it was great having Anthony Pittman on as well. I'd like to have
Yeah.
him back more often.
You know what?
Joe, thank you,
my
man. I'd love to be here.
If my voice isn't here tomorrow,
Might be Pittman going.
might be Pittman filling in because, like I said, I need to go home. I feel fine though. It's so funny. I feel fine.
I'm telling you, you're gonna have
It's
to
just my
drop
voice
trowel, dude.
sucks.
You're gonna have to get that shot in the butt.
Drop
Goodness, my man. Hey, real fast before we let you go, I know we only got 2 minutes to go. People were reaching out. One of my favorite comments saying, I think it was Mario saying Joe Montana is ass. No, it was Marcus Floyd who said that. Marcus Floyd said,
Oh, Marcus knows it too.
yeah,
Wow.
that
Okay.
Joe Montana. Marcus Floyd, for those of you who don't know, has been a sports photographer in San Antonio and South Texas for like 30 years, so he should know what's up. Paul Cantu says, not a big country fan either, Jimenez, but you got to go book a show in Vegas for the Garth Brooks concerts in Caesars. He's doing the residencies there. Paul says it's one of the best concerts he's ever been to. Phenomenal. Others say that it was great to have this conversation and for us to open up. John Dyer of Spurs and Salsa saying he knows where we're at. He wants to come crash the studio. So
I already told him he's more than welcome. He's in my hood, so come on by.
and he's a John Jay guy himself.
Yeah.
He's from Marbach.
Sounds
Hey.
like we're gonna have a studio audience eventually.
Yeah,
here.
just bring us some Golden Walk or something.
There you go. As you call Golden Walk, the jewel of Marbach.
That you know which the other jewel is? It's gonna be China Rose, man. If you know, you know.
Oh, dude, China Rose. What's that Mexican restaurant that's right there on 410 in Marbach? That's behind the gas station.
I think you're calling them. No. I was gonna say Arandas, but that one it's something else. I forgot the name of
I
it.
forgot it too. Old
Old
man.
one. It burnt down and then they rebuilt it.
Old. I mean, the guy's probably 90 years old and running.
Yeah.
It's so good there. Takes forever to get your food, but it's so
It's
good.
really
It's
good.
worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth
I
it.
gotta hit that up.
That's Joe Garcia. That's Anthony Pittman. My name's Mike Jimenez. This is The Acquired Taste. Again, this show's available on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and soon on Spotify later on this evening. This has been great. You have a good day.